Winterwood by Shea Ernshaw. Copyright 2019. Published by Simon Pulse, an imprint of Simon & Schuster Children's Publishing Division. As read by Liz. Prologue. A boy went missing the night of the storm. The night snow sailed down from the mountains and howled against the eaves of the old house as if through gritted teeth, cruel and baleful and full of bad omens not to be ignored. The electricity flickered like Morse code. The temperature dropped so fast that trees cracked down their centers, sweet-smelling sap oozing to the surface like honey, before it too crystallized and froze. Snow spiraled down the chimney and gathered on the roof until it was so deep it buried the mailbox at the end of the driveway, until I could no longer see Jackjaw Lake beyond my bedroom window. Winter arrived in a single night. By morning, Barrel Creek Road, the only road down the mountain, was snowed in, blocked by an impassable wall of white. The few of us who lived this deep in the woods, and those who were housed at the Jackjaw Camp for wayward boys on the far side of the lake, were trapped, stuck in the rugged heart of the wilderness. We just didn't know for how long, or that we wouldn't all make it out alive. Nora. Never waste a full moon, Nora, even in winter. My grandmother used to say. We'd wander up the Black River under a midnight sky, following the constellations above us like a map I could trace with my fingertips, imprints of stardust on my skin. She would hum a melody from deep within her belly, gliding sure-footed across the frozen river to the other side. "Can you hear it?" she'd ask. "The moon is whispering your secrets. It knows your darkest thoughts." My grandmother was like that, strange and beautiful, with stories resting just behind her eyelids, stories about moonlight and riddles and catastrophes, dreadful tales, but bright, cheery ones too. Walking beside her, I mirrored each step she took into the wilderness, in awe of how swiftly she avoided stinging nettles and poison buckthorns, how her hands traced the bark of every tree we passed, knowing its age just by touch. She was a wonder. Her chin always tilted to the sky, craving the anemic glow of moonlight against her olive skin, a storm always brewing along her edges. But tonight, I walk without her, chasing that same moon up the same dark, frozen river, hunting for lost things inside the cold, mournful forest. Tree limbs sag and dip overhead. An owl hoots from a nearby spruce, and Finn and I slog deeper into the mountains, his wolf tail slashing above him, nose in the air, tracking some unknown scent to the far side of the riverbank. 2 weeks have passed since the storm blew over Jackdaw Lake. 2 weeks since the snow fell and blocked the only road out of the mountains. 2 weeks since the electricity popped and died. And 2 weeks since a boy from the camp across the lake went missing. A boy whose name I didn't even know. A boy who ran away, or got lost, or simply vanished like the low morning fog that rises up from the lake during autumn rainstorms, who crept from his bunk inside one of the camp cabins and never returned, a victim of the winter cold, of madness or desperation, of these mountains that have a way of getting inside your head, playing tricks on those who dare to walk among the pines long after the sun has set. These woods are wild and rugged and unkind. They cannot be trusted. Yet, this is where I walk, deep into the mountains where no others dare to go, because I am more darkness than girl, more winter shadows than August sunlight. "We are the daughters of the wood," my grandmother would whisper. So I push farther up the shore of the Black River, following the map made by the stars just like she taught me, just like all walkers before me, until I reach the place where the line of trees breaks open to my right, where 2 steep ridges come together to form a narrow passage into a strange, dark forest to the east, a forest that is much older than the pines along the Black River. trees that are bound in and closed off and separate from the rest. The Wicker Woods. A mound of rock stands guard ahead of me, flat stones pulled up from the riverbed and stacked 4 feet high beside the entrance to the wood. It's a warning, a sign to turn back. Only the foolish enter here. Miners who panned for gold along the riverbank built the cairn to steer away those who would come later, those who might wander into this swath of land, unaware of the cruel dark that awaited them. The rocks that mark the entrance have never toppled, never collapsed under the weight of snow or rain or autumn winds. This is the border. Only enter under a full moon. Grandma cautioned, eyes like watery pools dewing at the edges. Inside this hollowed wood I will find lost items, but only beneath a full moon. When the forest sleeps, when the pale glow of moonlight lulls it into slumber, can I slip through unnoticed, unharmed. A sleeping forest will allow safe passage, but if it wakes, be prepared to run. Each month, when the swollen moon rises in the sky, I enter the Wicker Woods in search of lost things hidden among the greening branches and tucked at the base of trees. Lost sunglasses, rubber flip-flops, cheap plastic earrings in the shape of watermelons and unicorns and crescent moons, toe rings and promise rings given to girls by lovesick boys. The things that are lost at Jackdaw Lake in summers past are once again found in the woods, appearing as if the forest is giving them back. But sometimes, under a particularly lucky full moon, I find items much older, long forgotten things whose owners fled these mountains a century ago. Silver lockets and silver buttons and silver sewing notions, toothbrushes made of bone, medicine bottles with labels long since worn away, cowboy boots and tin cans once filled with powdered milk and black coffee grounds, watch fobs and doorknobs, and from time to time I even find gold itself, crude coins hammered into a disc, gold nuggets tangled in moss, flakes that catch in my hair. Lost things found. By magic or by maleficence, these things appear in the woods, returned. Finn sniffs the air, hesitant, and I draw in a breath, spinning the thin gold ring around my index finger. A habit, a way to summon the courage of my grandmother, who gave me the ring the night she died. I am Nora Walker. I whisper, let the forest know my name. It had seemed stupid, once, to speak aloud to the trees, but after you step into the dark and feel the cold pass through you, the trees swallowing all memory of light, you'll tell the Wicker Woods all manner of secrets, stories you've kept hidden inside the cage of your chest, anything to lull the forest, to keep it in slumber. I pinch my eyes closed and step over the threshold, through the line of tall soldier trees standing guard in the dark of the forest, into the Wicker Woods. Nothing good lives here. The air is cold and damp, and the dark makes it hard to see anything beyond your toes. But it always feels this way, each time colder and darker than the last. I breathe slowly and move forward, stepping carefully, deliberately, over fallen logs and dewdrop flowers frozen in place. In winter, these woods feel like a fairy tale suspended in time. The princess, forgotten. The hero eaten whole by a noble fur goblin. The story ended, but no one remembered to burn the haunted forest to the ground. I duck beneath an archway of thorny twigs and dead cypress vines, keeping my gaze at my feet. I'm careful to never linger long on a single shadow, a thing skittering just beyond my vision. My mind will only make it worse, twist it into something with horns and fangs and copper eyes. The dead stir inside this ancient wood. They claw their fingernails along the bark of hemlock trees. They wail up through the limbs, searching for the moonlight, for any sliver of the sky. But there is no light in this place. The Wicker Woods are where old, vengeful things lurk, things much older than time itself, things you don't want to meet in the dark. Get in, get the hell out. Finn follows close at my heels, no longer leading the way, so close his footsteps match mine. Human, shadow. Dog, shadow. I am a walker. I remind myself when the thorn of fear begins to wedge itself along my spine, twisting between flesh and bone, prodding me to run. I belong in these trees. Even if I'm not as formidable as my grandmother, or as fearless as my mom, the same blood swells through my veins, black as tar. The blood that gives all walkers our nightshade, our shadow side. The part of us that is different, odd, uncommon. Grandma could slip into other people's dreams, and Mom can lull wild honeybees into sleep. But on nights like this, venturing into the cruelest part of the forest, I often feel terrifyingly ordinary, and I wonder if the trees can sense it too. I am a girl, barely able to call herself descended from witches, barely able to call myself a walker. Yet, I press forward, squinting through the dark and scanning the exposed roots poking up through the snow, searching for hidden things wedged among the lichen and rocks. Something shiny or sharp-cornered or rusted with time, something man-made, something that's value is measured by weight. We pass over a dried creek bed, and the wind changes directions from east to north. The temperature dips. An owl cries in the distance, and Finn stops beside me, nose twitching in the air. I touch his head gently, feeling the quick pace of his breathing. He senses something. I pause and listen for the snapping of branches underfoot, for the sound of a wolf stalking through the trees, watching us, hunting. But a moth skims past my shoulder, white wings beating against the cold, flitting toward a sad, spiny-looking hemlock tree, leaving imprints of dust wherever it lands. It looks as if it's just come through a storm, wings torn at the edges, shredded. A moth who's faced death, who's seen it up close. My heartbeat sinks into my toes and my eyelashes twitch, certain I'm not seeing it right. Just another trick of the woods. But I know what it is. I've seen sketches of them before. I've even seen one pressed against the window while my grandmother coughed from her room down the hall, hands clasping the bedsheets, blood in her throat. A bone moth. The worst kind. The bringer of portents and warnings, of omens that should never be ignored. Of death. My fingers again touch the gold moonstone ring weighted heavy on my finger. Every part of me that had felt brave, had felt the courage of my grandmother pulsing through me, vanishes. I squeeze, my eyes closed, then open them again. But the moth is still there, zigzagging among the trees. We shouldn't be here. I whisper to Finn. We need to run. I release my hand from Finn's head, and my heart scrapes against my ribs. I glance over my shoulder, down the narrow path we followed in. Run, run, run! My heart screams. I take a careful step back, away from the moth, not wanting to make a sound. But the moth circles overhead, bobbing quickly out over the trees, called forth by something, back into the dark. Relief settles through me, my heart sinking back into my chest. But then Finn breaks away from my side. He darts around a dead tree stump and into the brush, chasing after the moth. No! I shout. Too loud, my voice echoing over the layer of snow and bouncing through the treetops. But Finn doesn't stop. He tears around a cluster of spiny aspens and vanishes into the dark. Gone. Shit, shit, shit. If it were anything else, a different kind of moth, or another wolf, he will chase deep into the snowy mountains only to return home in a day or two. I'd let him go. But a bone moth means something else, something cruel and wicked and bad. So I run after him. I sprint around the clot of trees and follow him into the deepest part of the forest, past elms that grow at odd angles, down steep, jagged terrain I don't recognize. Where my boots slip beneath me, where my hands press against tree trunks to propel me forward, and where each footstep sounds like thunder against the frozen ground. I'm making too much noise. Too loud. The woods will wake. But I don't slow down. I don't stop. I lose sight of him beyond 2 fallen trees, and little stabs of pain cut through me. Finn! Please! I call in a near hush, trying to keep my voice low while the sting of tears presses against my eyes, blurring my vision. Panic leaps into my throat and I want to scream, shout Finn's name louder. But I bite back the urge. No matter what, I can't wake the woods, or neither Finn nor I will make it out of here. And then I see him, tail wagging, stopped a few yards away between a grove of hemlocks. My heart presses against my ribs. He's led us farther into the Wicker Woods than I've ever been before. And the moth, frayed body, white wings with holes torn along the edges, flutters among the falling snowflakes, slow and mercurial, as if it were in no great hurry. It moves upward toward the sky, a speck of white among the black canopy of trees, and then vanishes into the dark forest to the north. I step carefully toward Finn and touch his ear to keep him from running after it again, but he bares his teeth, growling. Shh, I say softly. His ears shift forward, his breathing quick as he sucks in bursts of air, and a low, guttural growl rises up from deep within his chest. Something's out there. A beast or shadow with hooked claws and grim pinhole eyes, a thing the forest keeps, a thing it hides, something I don't want to see. My fingers twitch. The dread rises up at the base of my throat. It tastes like ash. I hate this feeling building inside me, this awful fear. I am a walker. I am the thing whispered about, the thing that conjures goosebumps and nightmares. I swallow and stiffen my jaw into place, taking a step forward. The moth led us here, to something just beyond my vision. I scan the dark, looking for eyes, something blinking out from the trees. But there's nothing. I shake my head and let out a breath, about to turn back to Finn, when my left foot thuds against something on the ground, something hard. I squint down at my feet, trying to focus in the dark. A mound of snow. A coat sleeve, I think. The tip of a boot. A thing that doesn't belong. And then I see. Hands! There, lying beneath a dusting of snowfall in the middle of the Wicker Woods, is a body. Snowflakes have gathered on stiff eyelashes, eyes shuttered closed like 2 crescent moons, pale lips parted open, waiting for the crows. Even the air between the trees has gone still, a tomb, as if the body is an offering that shouldn't be disturbed. I blink down at the corpse, and a second passes, followed by another, my heart clawing silently upward into my windpipe, but no sound escapes my lips. No cry for help. I stare in stupefied inaction. My mind slows. My ears buzz. An odd crackle, crack, crack, as if a radio were pressed to my skull. I inch closer and the trees quiver overhead. For a second, I wonder if the entire forest might snap at the roots and upend itself, trunks to the sky and treetops to the ground. I've seen dead birds in the woods before, even a dead deer with the antlers still attached to the hollowed-out skull. But never anything like this. Never a human body. Finn makes a low whine behind me, but I don't look back. I don't take my eyes off the corpse, like it might vanish if I look away. I swallow and crouch down, my knees pressing into the snow, eyes watering from the cold. But I need to know. Is it him? The boy who went missing from the camp? His face is covered by a dusting of snow, dark hair frozen in place. There are no injuries that I can see, no trauma, no blood. And he hasn't been here long, or he wouldn't be here at all. The dead don't last in the mountains, especially in winter. Birds pick apart what they can before the wolves close in, scattering the bones across miles of terrain, leaving barely an imprint of what once had been. The forest is efficient at death, a swift wiping away, no remains to bury or burn or mourn. A A soft wind stirs through the trees, blowing away the snow from his forehead, his cheekbones, his pale lips, and the hairs along the base of my neck prick on end. I lift my hand from the snow, my fingers hovering over his open palm, trembling, curious. I shouldn't touch him. But I lower my hand anyway. I want to feel the icy skin, the heaviness of death in his limbs. My skin meets his, but his hand isn't rigid or still. It twitches against my fingertips. Not dead. Still alive. The boy's eyes flinch open. Forest green, gray-green, alive green. He coughs at the same moment his fingers close around mine, gripping tightly. I scream, a strangled sound swallowed by the trees, but Finn immediately springs up next to me, tail raised, nose absorbing the boy's newly alive scent. I yank my arm away and try to stand, to scramble back, but my legs stumble beneath me and I fall backward onto the snow. Run! My spiking heartbeat yells. But before I can push myself up, the boy is rolling onto his side, coughing again, touching his face with his hands, trying to breathe. Alive. Not dead. Gasping for air. Warm skin grabbing my hand. Kind of alive. My throat goes dry and my eyes refuse to blink. I'm certain he's not real. But he draws in deep, measured breaths between each cough, as if his lungs were full of water. I sling my backpack off one shoulder and reach inside for a canteen of hot juniper tea. It will save your life if you ever get lost. My grandmother would say, you can live off juniper tea for weeks. I hold the canteen out to him, and he lowers his hand from his face, his eyes meeting mine. Dark, sleepy eyes. Deep, heavy inhales making his chest rise and fall as if it's never known air before this moment. He doesn't take the canteen, and I lean forward, drawing in a breath. What's your name? I ask, my voice broken. His gaze roves the ground, then moves up to the sky, like he's searching for the answer. His name lost somewhere in the woods, taken from him, snatched while he slept. His eyes settle back on me. Oliver Huntsman. Are you from the boys' camp? An icy wind sails over us, kicking up a layer of snow. His mouth opens, searching for the words, and then he nods. I found him. This preview has been created for you by Lies and Scandal Lit. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more quality book previews. Thank you.